now, and I would mute us all right now so that we can go through the class. But please keep your camera on so that we can have a conversation as we go along, right? Okay, great. So my name is Ezekiel Sholisi. I run a few businesses, but what I'm most known for is that I've worked with about 2,400 entrepreneurs, and I have 17 of my clients that do over $1 billion a year. And I coach entrepreneurs and high-powered professionals. It's a pretty expensive coaching, so I'm not going to talk about it here. So, but what I'm really passionate about is helping businesses really succeed, right? I've worked with people in the food business, like Tony. I have a client in the food business who I worked with in 24 months, did $100 million a year by his 24th month. So the first year, I think he did about 10, 15 million a year. And then by the second month, he did about 100 million. I worked with people in tech businesses. I have a tech business clients that I pretty much started out with them when he was selling shoes online, and then he pivoted into 3 or 4 other businesses, and eventually ended up in core tech space. And his business did $1 billion in 2018. I have a couple of real estate clients that I've been working with. I have a client that I've been working with for 7 years. Last year, the business did $23 billion. And why am I saying all of this? Just so that you understand that I have worked with that many people, and your business will be the next project, hopefully. All right. So I lead the company called Live Simple. It's an acronym that means Life, Investing, Money, and Business Made Simple. And we also run the Live Simple Business Academy. The Business Academy is where we house a lot of our entrepreneurial trainings. We have quite a number of them. In fact, at 8 o'clock, we have a training that is happening that I have to just chip in and write something in while we're doing this class. We have over 900 people that are currently in different of our programs right now, at the moment. And we also do management consulting, and we've done work with all of these brands, right? Okay, so I said that we work with 2,400 entrepreneurs. So let's quickly run into the class. So the first thing that I want you to know is that you have to not forget what you wanted at the beginning of the year, because you see, as the COVID-19 came and things got a little tough. For example, I stepped into my office last week for the first time. Of course, I've been going to work, but my people would be working from home. We stepped into our office last week for the first time in 6 months. So in the middle of all this, and the funny thing about that is that we moved into a new office. We moved to a really nice office in Maryland, duplex office, spent 6.2 million renovated, almost finished renovating it in February, and then COVID comes, right? And so we have a very fine office that we can't even go to. Right? So I've been going to work, but I had my people still work from home. We do maybe once or twice in a week for those who can make it. So most of us here are familiar with Mike. Mike is still working from home. In fact, Mike is not only working from home, he's working from another part of the country. He's stuck somewhere else. So in the middle of all the craziness, people have been saying things like, if 2020 ends and you're still alive, it's a good thing, right? And yes, it is a good thing, but don't forget what you wanted at the beginning of the year. You see, because the thing about crisis is that there is more money that moves in the crisis than at any other time in human history. So, and I'll tell you one for sure. For me, we have made more money in the COVID period than we've done before the COVID period. And it's a mindset shift, right? So what I want to do is quickly remind us of some of the things that we want personally for ourselves, and then we can get into the class and talk about how do we get it, right? So when I ask people what they want is usually bordering around all of these things, or one of these things, right? So some people want financial freedom, right? And we all know what financial freedom means, right? We all know that financial freedom means, having as much money as you want without having to worry about what it costs, right? Some people want that. Some people want to contribute to society. They want to give. I mean, I've been privileged to have made some money in this period, and I've also been privileged to be able to give. I remember that just outside my estate is the guy that we buy gas from, right? And I remember he stopping me in the thick of the lockdown, and he stopped me and he said that because we have quite a number of gas cylinders in my house, so he stopped me and he said that that I needed to fill one of our gas cylinders, and he said, "How about if I fill all of them?" I said, "All of them are full, right? I just need to fill this one." But I understood what he was saying because he needed the money. So what I resolved to do was that all the people that I dealt with at that time, I went extra mile to overpay them for their services, just so that they could have some extra money, right? So if somebody fixed my car in that period, I would overpay the person, maybe 1,000 to maybe 5,000 more, because I know that they needed the money at that time, But contribute society is easier when you're making money. Right? Some people want to have peace of mind. They just want to know that you're fine. Think about it, right? The COVID-19 pandemic exposed for a lot of us the fact that we don't have resources. We don't have what's called emergency funds. Some people in 2 months, some people in 2 weeks, they were done, and that's the number one rule for the number one recipe for no peace of mind. Some people want to make a lot of money because they want to build assets, right? Just think about, being able to own houses or hotels, or maybe not hotels in this time, houses. I remember I called the law firm in charge of the office that we just acquired, and I said, so I called them, I think in July, and I said, I talked to the lady, I said, "Where are you working from?" She says, "I'm working from home." I said, "So you know that if you're working from home, a lot of us are working from home too, right?" And she said, "Yes." I said, "So we just took an office from you guys. Are you guys planning to give us some rebates? Because we haven't used the office." So but guess what? At the end, by January next year, I'm gonna have to pay the money again. Right? The landlord is not going to be, in fact, the landlord is probably hoping that my rent ends in June, so that he can make some money because he needs the money. Some people want to make a lot of money because they want good health, right? They want good health. And we all know that good health is not cheap. I remember one time I'm driving and I'm listening to this, what do you call it? I'm listening to this fitness expert on radio. And the guy is saying that, for you to be healthy, you need to keep your food intake between 1,800 to 2,200 calories per day. And I'm in the car all by myself and I'm laughing because you need to have some serious money to be able to calculate calories. In this country, people eat until their stomach tells them to stop or their pocket tells them to stop, right? Isn't that what happened to most of us? So some people want to make a lot of money because they want good quality education, particularly for their children, right? And some people want a lot of money because they want to retire in style. And retiring in style is a huge goal. Huge goal. In fact, it's so huge that I think I need to explain how this thing works. Now, think about it, right? Most people that have a job, when they plan their retirement, because I get an opportunity to do a lot of trainings in corporate organizations. And when I'm talking to people in corporate organizations, they say things like, "Oh, don't worry about retirement, it's figured out, the banks, the PFA." And that's nice. It's great to have a PFA. But it's important to understand what you have, right? So let me just do a quick explanation of how this thing works, right? How this thing works. Now, if you want to, imagine that you have a job. Just imagine that you have a job that allows you to put away 50,000. Sorry, my stuff isn't working as well. That allows you to put away 50,000 a month into your retirement accounts, right? 50K. Sorry, where is my pen? So this allows you to put away 50K. In a year, 6,000, right? And 600,000, imagine that you are able to consistently save that 600,000 every single year for 20 years before you retire, right? Now, assuming that you get 10% guaranteed interest, which is averagely, in fact, most people don't get up to that. But you know that if you can save 50K every month into your retirement account, it's a decent job, right? Very, very decent job. Now, if you can do that, then what now happens is in 20 years, when you do retire, you would have, of course, if you get 10% or 10% returns, 10% interest rate, 20 years of savings, and then something called compounding interest, right? CI. If you get compounding interest, my stuff isn't working as well. At the end of those 20 years, you retire and you would have somewhere around 32.2 million. 32.2 million in your retirement account. 32.2 million in your retirement. And most people would love that opportunity because, I mean, it's a good deal, right? I mean, nobody's going to pass an opportunity to have 32.2 million in their retirement account. And that's where most of us get scammed, because what's happening is that we're being sold tomorrow on today's excitement. So, and the main question is, what would 32.2 million be worth 20 years from now? Because Kiyosaki says that there's three sides to every story. There's the side you're told, there's the side you believe, and then there's the truth. How many of us want to hear the truth? If you want to hear the truth, say me. Post it in the comment section. Let me be sure that people are following. If you want to hear the truth of this matter, I want you to type me in the comment section. It's going to be significantly interesting when you find out exactly what you get. I get 2 or 3 responses, I move on. Fantastic. Okay, great. So imagine, so to be able to understand what 32 million will be worth 20 years from now, we need to go back to the past and look at things from the past, right? So let's go back to a significant year like 1986, right? 1986. Sorry, my stuff isn't working, so I think I should just get it out. Let's go back to a significant year like 1986. Just follow my voice, right? If my dad had, say, 3,500 in 1986, he's going to buy a brand new car. Of course, not a Maserati or a Bentley, but he's going to buy a really nice 504, brand new car, right? Now, of course, understand, for those of us that are a little young, 3,500 in 1986 was a significant amount of money, right? In fact, for some civil servants, that was like their entire annual savings. So it's not like you go and visit your uncle and he wants to give you transport money and then he hands you 3,006. That was not going to happen, right? If somebody had 3,006, he had to have a high-paying job, or he had to, if someone had 3,006 to buy a car, he had to have a high-paying job, or he had to have saved significantly well. So imagine that my dad had that money. He's going to buy a brand new car, and his friend says, you know what, don't put that money in the car, right? Why don't you just put it in the savings plan and, get yourself up and ready to be able to retire, well. So he puts that money every year, 3,006, and he puts it in an account, right? He gets 10% interest, he gets 20 years of savings, he gets compound interest, the same factors that produce the 32.2 million. When he retires in 20 years, he would have 224,600 naira. Now, that's a lot of money coming from 3,600, but he's going to get that money in 2005. 2005, 224,600. Would I buy me brand new car in 2005? Would I buy me a fairly used car? He wouldn't even buy me a useless car, right? That's why financial experts tell us that even though savings is a good habit, it's a very bad strategy, because you're saving something that is losing value faster than it is gaining numbers. So what you're saving is losing value faster than it is gaining in numbers. So so the next time you see, like Kiyosaki would say, the next time you see all those nice pension fund advert of an old guy telling his grandson that his father, that is sitting off the coast of Barcelona, explaining to his son how his life is so amazing because he put his money in a PFA, say that guy most likely owns the PFA, because the PFA is the retirement plan of the owner of the PFA, as opposed to the retirement plan of the person who puts his money in one. So here's my best advice when I talk to people, whether they have businesses or jobs or anything. I tell them, It is better to save for an investment than to save as an investment. Put money together, buy a property. Put money together, buy a house. Put money together, buy something that's going to produce money. But if your strategy for retirement is, I will keep saving money, you're on the wrong side of the divide. So if you want all of this, guess what? You have to run a business, right? So the first thing that I want you to see before we talk about what we have to do today is really to agree with you that COVID happened for you and not to you. Now the mindset is really different, because once you agree that this thing happened for you, and you would understand more when we get into Strategy Factory next week. But when you understand that, you would understand that the entire thing that happened. I remember where I was when the COVID thing sort of happened. I was in Warri. I was doing a session. It was a two-part session. One was on Saturday, and the other one was the next Wednesday. So I was stuck in a hotel for a couple of days. So and we had an event that was going to happen next week. The next week in Sheraton, I was there, and the news was coming on. I was stuck in a hotel watching CNN, and you know that if you keep watching CNN, you know, at that time, you would feel like the entire world had exploded except for where you were, right? You know, so, and then the news from Lagos, they said that they had to do social distancing, they had to lock down for a couple of days, you know, so I had to find my way back to Lagos quickly. And, but I remember that my first thought for this was, this is just going to be for 2 weeks, because the first lockdown was like 2 weeks. I said it was going to be for 2 weeks. But immediately I asked myself, I said, what if this is going to happen for a month? What if this happens for a month? What if this happens for a whole year? How am I going to keep the business running? And that thinking changed everything for us, because that thinking made us develop 5 different products that's responsible for a lot of things that we've done today. So what I'm going to do is to help you understand how to move that. So what I'm giving you guys for free now is the first module of 9 different models of an event that we do called the Strategy Factory, right? It usually happens in Sheraton, and we've done an online version. In fact, we had one last month. We had 66 people from 6 different African countries. And I just finished the coaching call with people who attended the class from Zimbabwe. Right, we had people from Zimbabwe, from Angola, from Kenya, from Rwanda, and from Ghana, and from Nigeria, who attended the last class. So this is module 1. So if you've ever had anything to do with me in the past, what I like to do is, again, that's the reason why the name of our company is called Live Simple, because we like to keep things simple, right? So every time I look at a business or look at a concept, I like to define it in the simplest way possible, so that you can understand how best to do. And I know that everybody here knows what a business is, but I want you to stick with me, because I'm going to give you what is, by many people's estimation, the simplest definition of business, and we would explain that definition so that you understand how it works. So the best definition I have found of business is by a guy called Josh Kaufman. In a book called The Personal MBA. If you can find that book, please get it. And those of us who come into the Strategy Factory, I'll probably share with you how you can get the book. Now, he says that a business is a repeatable process that first creates and delivers something of value. 2, that other people want or need. 3, at a price they are willing to pay. 4, in a way that satisfies the customer's needs and expectations. 5, so that the business brings in enough profit to make it worthwhile for the owners to continue operation. I love this definition because it captures every single thing that a business is supposed to do. All right, I'll take it again. A business is a repeatable process is critical, because if what you do in your business is not repeatable, if every single process in your business is not repeatable, then it's not a business. All right? So in the Strategy Factory, we'll teach you how to develop system structures How do you make sure that you can, sort of stay away from your business for like a month, 2 months, and focus on other things and your business is still running? How do you build repeatable processes? If the processes are not repeatable, guess what? It's not a business, right? So first, it has to be a repeatable process. It has to create and deliver something of value. 2, it has to be that other people want or need. 3, at a price they're willing to pay. 4, in a way that satisfies the customer's needs and expectation. And 5, so that the business brings in enough profits to make it worthwhile for the owners to continue operation. So what I will do now is spend the next 30 minutes explaining this definition. Trust me, you probably have never had the stuff explained this way before. Okay, so let's move to, so the first of them is, remember, the first is a business that creates and delivers something of value. So the first question you need to ask yourself is, how valuable is your offering, or how valuable will your offering be post-COVID-19, right? Now, in this section, I like to help people clarify the value they're bringing to the market and how valuable it is. And every time I meet with anybody who runs a business, I have 4 things that I usually use to clarify if your business passes these 4 tests, then you're good to go, right? The first of them is, now before we get into that, I want to talk very quickly. Usually one of the most powerful determinants of idea viability is usually population demography and their peculiarities. And if you look at Nigeria, when we get to the strategy factory, we do something called market analysis, where we talk about social cultural. Why is Techno selling more phones in Africa than Apple and Samsung? Techno has sold over 1 billion phones in Africa, and it's because of their understanding of the demography of the African continent, right? And so we're going to talk a little bit about that, but I want to use this as a basis. So the first thing that you have to think about for your business, and it doesn't matter what business you're in, right? Your business, does it serve a huge expanding market? Is the market for your business expanding or shrinking, right? So for example, so I stay in an estate here in Magodo, and I bought a car from somebody. He imported it, so I bought a car from the person, and he's looking to also sell his house because he wants to move to Canada for some strange reason I've never named. But I quite understood what his challenge, because now for many years he'd been the sole distributor for Airtel airtime in the whole of the Ojoju Bega, Ikeja axis, right? And then his business used to do a profit of over 24 million a month, right? And about 24 million a month. Sorry, 1 minute, let me just send the text. So about 24 million a month, right? But guess what happened? That market is shrinking, isn't it? Because now most of the airtime are now, how many of us here have bought airtime from somebody on the street? Most of us are buying it on our phones now, isn't it? Right? Most of us are buying that thing on our phone. So it means that we're doing less and less and less and less of that. So if you run a business like that, what's happening? The market for that is shrinking. So if you are in business, you need to ask, the business that I'm doing, or the idea that I'm propagating or growing, is it in a growing industry or in a shrinking market, right? Once you understand that, once you know whether it's in a shrinking market or an expanding market, guess what? You can determine how to move, right? So if it's in a shrinking market, guess where you should be? You should be on your way out, right? You should be on your way out of that market if it's a shrinking market. Don't be too loyal to an idea that is dying, right? Second is, can it be turned into a unique product? This is very, very important, because if you if you think about it, right, one of the things that helps us with, that helps you build your business is some form of uniqueness. And let me explain what I mean by uniqueness. It's not so much just the uniqueness of the product. It might be uniqueness of how you bring the product to market, right? You don't have to be the first person to get into a market. I'll give you an instance. How many of us here, we all know USSD banking, right? Like star 737 and all that. How many of us here can tell me what bank started the USSD banking? What bank? I'd like to see it in the comment section. Just tell me, what bank do you think started USSD bank? Okay, somebody said GTB. Who else? Anybody else? Anybody else has any idea? GTB, good. I'm liking the answer that I'm seeing. I'm liking the answer that I'm seeing. Now, the reason why I'm liking the answer that I'm seeing is this. It wasn't GTB that started it. But it is very, very good that you thought it was GTB. The first bank that started USSD banking was actually First Bank. But why didn't it work? Right? Because when First Bank started out, one of the things that they thought to do was that they were trying to rival people like Paga and all that kind of stuff, right? And so they thought that the product was basically for the market women and the unbanked and the unschooled and the likes. So they tried to educate this, but that's why they made it USSD. You don't need internet, you don't need all the kind of stuff. But they were committing, and I know very well because I was trading First Bank at the time, but they were committing it to the hands of people who were at the same time expected to bring in a lot of revenue, current and savings account, they call it CASA. And so instead of talking to market women, they would go and talk to the big people who would get the money in. The second bank that actually started it was Stanbic. Stanbic started, I think it was star 919 hash or something. But Stanbic had predominantly, the people who banked with Stanbic were working class people who spent a lot of time in the office and had access to internet. So why would they be thinking about doing USSD when they could do stuff on their banking apps online, right? GT Bank came late to the party, but when GT Bank was coming in, right, what they did was that they asked themselves, who is the most important demographic in the country? So when they educated the most important, and they decided they were going to focus on youth between 18 to 35, when they educated that demographic, guess what? The youths, the young people would educate their parents, they'll educate their friends, they'll educate everybody. And so it determined how they brought the product to market. They came with a music track. Many of us here can hear the song in our heads, singing, right? 737, right? You can hear it in your head. They came out with a music track, and guess what? The product went so deep in the market, GT Bank shot up and became the most valuable bank in Nigeria. They have a 1 trillion naira capitalization. They did 600 billion naira last year, 600 billion naira last year from star 737, 400 billion of that on airtime alone. So guess what? You don't have to bring a unique product to the market. You might just have to bring it differently to the market. Do you get the difference now? So don't kill yourself over the product is unique. No. Sometimes you can take an already existing product like Apple. Apple did not create anything in whatever category. They were not the first people to come up with a music player. It already existed. They were not the first people to come up with a phone. In fact, how many of us know what the uniqueness of the iPhone was? You'll be shocked when I tell you what their big fight with Samsung was. When iPhone came out, the big uniqueness, the only real uniqueness of the iPhone when it came out was that the iPhone was the first phone in the world to have curved edges. Before the iPhone, all phones looked like a block. That's why when Steve Jobs was going to get out the iPhone, before you see the iPhone, you will sign pages and pages and pages of non-disclosure agreement before you see the iPhone. And his rationale was simple, that if you make the phone have curved edges, it'll be sexy, and people can now develop a relationship with their phone. And guess what? He was right. Because as the iPhone did that and other phones started to do that, guess what happened to most of us? We spend more time with our phones than we do with our spouses, isn't it? Some of us will pick up your phone, no notification. Pick up your phone, unlock it, lock it, and put it back. You're checking up on them. Right? Isn't that how you check on people that you love? Right. So it's really amazing. So when we talk about uniqueness, we're not just talking about thinking about what the next big product is. No. You can take what already exists and put a unique twist to it, right? Very, very important. Next is your product in its time. Because sometimes when you're bringing out a product that is ahead of its time, you need to know what to do. Because many times people who come before their time would end up educating the market before, and then they might even die before the market is properly educated. So I'll give you an instance. Many of us here know Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. But what we forget is that there was Hi-Fi, there was MySpace. Those were the guys that educated us about social networking. Guess what happened to them? They died just at the point where social networking started to catch on. So sometimes if you have an idea and the idea is not yet in its time, if you can afford to, and we're going to teach you in the strategy factory, if you need to start it, how to start it and how to stay in business up until that time, right? Or hold it. So a good example of somebody who held his idea was Adenuga. Adenuga had bought his Glow license years before telecoms became a thing. But he realized that it wasn't yet time. He didn't want to be the one to educate Nigeria about cell phones. So he waited in the market, and then MTN came in, Equinet came in, all those guys came in, did a lot of the education. In fact, Equinet came in first, and they didn't last too long. By the time they were educated, by the time the market was educated, they had lost some money. They had to sell to Zain, and then Airtel, and then D-Mobile, and then, but Glow came in at the time when they had something real that they had to offer, and the market was educated enough. And so prior to that time, he went into banking, he went into oil, he went into other businesses while he was keeping his eye on the telecoms industry. And then came in with a bang, introduced per second billing, and right now, Glow is arguably the most profitable telecoms company in the country. Because every of the internet infrastructure, almost all internet infrastructure in Nigeria runs on his platform, right? Runs on this platform. And then lastly, does the business give you leverage, right? Are you building a business that can survive your absence? Because if it cannot survive your, if more success means more work personally for you, then it's not a business, it's a practice, not a business. Right? How many of us are thinking about that now? Great. So when you think about all of those things, that I want to add something. In COVID, in post-COVID, what I realized, and this is exactly what helped me to sort of figure out how to be profitable, because I realized that in this period and post this period, people are going to find valuable anything that helps them stay healthy, anything that helps them make money, anything that keeps people connected, anything that keeps people sane. So you notice that food, healthy here includes food, and all of that is booming. Anything that provides an opportunity for people to make money, all the people saying, oh, you can make money here, network marketing, come and do online courses and all that, they're making money. People that keep people connected, logistics, social, just take a look at Facebook, Amazon, any business that is predominantly online and connects people, their value has increased by billions. Apple has had their shares increased by more than 50%. Over, over $2 trillion in valuation right now. It's crazy. right? And then anything that keeps people sane, comedy people. If you notice in the Nigerian space, new comedians became popular in this period. You know, the Mr. Macaronis and all of those guys. Why? Because people are crazy, shut up in their houses, and they need to laugh. You know, so we came in there to a lot of new rising star comedians, you know, happen. So if you think about your business, aside from those 4 things that I mentioned earlier, you want to think about all these things also. So the second is, remember, the second factor of what a business is that other people want or need. So the question is, how needed is your offering? And I don't mean in terms of, when I talk about luxury or utility, I don't mean in terms of the price of your product. I mean in terms of how do people consider your product important enough? So I'll give you an example. The iPhone is pretty expensive, but people use it a lot. Why? Because the iPhone has created some form. How many of us here know people that use iPhone, right? How many of us have noticed that people who use an iPhone, they have a sense in which they feel like they made it in life? How many of us know those kind of, you know, they walk around as if they made it in life? It's because the iPhone has created that perception. So people feel like they must get the phone. So the question is the product, the service, your business, right? So the person who buys your food, for example, right? Do the person feel like they have to buy your food? Or is it just something that they can make do with? When do they buy you because it's convenient, or do they buy you because you've ingrained yourself in them? Your product, your service, do they work with you because it's convenient, or do they work with you because it's ingrained? You've done something for them that almost nobody else has been able to fulfill. Maybe in the uniqueness of your product, the uniqueness of your customer service, the uniqueness of, you know, the uniqueness of the work, right? Now that's very, very, very powerful. I'll tell you a quick story about how Apple has created such a powerful brand around themselves. So I remember that I was doing this project in Abuja, 2009, 2010, right? And I was running this event in Transcorp Hilton. It was a business event. People would show up. And I had this person who was in the class, who was at that time very big person, you know, the curator for the Global Shapers and all that. So I had this friend who used to build websites for 25,000. And so my friend, this lady had asked me if I could recommend somebody to build a website. You know, I didn't live in Abuja, so I would fly to Abuja, I'll do that meeting, I'll come back. So I recommended this to my friend, but I understood the difference between what she thought the price would be and what he charges. Because I knew that she was thinking more high class and he was a lot more low class, right? But I wanted to introduce him to the high level, you know, business. So we had a meeting in Salamander Cafe in Wuse to sit down there, and I said, look, when you get to the place, do not talk about price. Just talk about how good you are. Don't worry about the negotiable price for you. So he said, no problem. So we get to the meeting and we're talking, and you know, they're done. And the lady has, what he said, one of the first things he notices that, you know, I get to the meeting, I have my Apple devices, you know, I'm using an iPad. I think I was an iPhone at the time, but she had an iPad, I had an iPad, and then he brought out his own notepad, you know. So he started to jot a couple of things down. The meeting is almost over, and the lady says, Ezekiel, I don't know how you can talk to your friend. We don't have a lot of budget for this event, right? Because it's for this website, it's a really small budget. I'm doing this personally, you know. So my friend is already feeling discouraged because he charges 25,000, and somebody's telling him that they don't have a lot of budget. He's already afraid that, look, am I going to charge less than 25,000 for this thing? But I knew what she meant, you know. So I said, no problem, don't worry. It's my friend. I'll talk him in. She said, okay, can you help me talk to your friend if you could manage 250,000 for the website? And my friend said that it took the grace of God for him not to shout. So he looked at her and said, well, we'll manage it, you know. In fact, what we're going to do is that because it's your first time working with us, we'll give you 2 years free maintenance, free. I had to step on his leg, say, guy, don't give everything now because somebody's giving you 10 times the amount. But something happened after then when she was going to give him the details of the website. And that was when she noticed that he was using a notepad. And she looked at him and said, oh, I can see that you forgot your iPad. That's what she said. And he looked at her and he said, yes, I forgot my iPad. And when he finished, They did a transfer of over 150,000 to him. And he said, Ezekiel, we're going to buy an iPad right now. Right? Because he realized that, look, the iPad at that time had become a definition of certain type of class. And he needed to be in that class. So he went to buy the product. Right? So you have to move your product from the realm of sparingly used, which is a luxury realm, to the realm of consistently used or utility use, which will serve you better. And that, number 4 is that at a price your customers are willing to pay. So the question now is, how willing are your customers to pay for your service? And here we're going to dive more into this when we get into the class properly. But here's the thing, right? Your business can exist in different levels. Right? There's something called the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You can have a food business that attracts, that serves the lowest of the lowest people. Sorry, my slide moved. Let me move it back. You can have a food business that, so the physiological needs people are, very, very low level. They don't have a lot of money. There's a lot of people at that level. And then you have safety needs, and then love and belonging, self-esteem, and self-actualization. And as you're doing all of that, the price of the same product is different at different levels. You can buy food at Mama Put for 200 naira. That same amount of food, if you go to Chicken Republic, is 500 naira or 700 naira or 900 naira, depending on what the level is. And then you can go to Sheraton and have that same lunch at 8,000 naira buffet. You can go to Intercontinental and have the same lunch for 14,000 naira. Or you can fly out of the country, go to the tallest hotel in the world, JW Marriott, and have buffet for 90,000 naira, the equivalent of 90,000 naira, right? The difference in price, and these different businesses attract different types of people. So we're going to be looking at your business and asking, are you talking to the right clients? Some of us are talking to the clients that can't afford us, or talking to the clients that can afford us, but we're in a space that we can't scale. So I'll give you an instance. People start small businesses, right? And then they say, oh, let me start small and start servicing the small people. So they start a small shop. But they don't realize that a business is simple to start don't mean that it's easy to scale. Look at all those women. 20 years down the line, the shop hasn't changed. Nothing has changed. Because if you're selling something that has very small margin, you need a lot of sales to be able to scale that business. Or you need infusion of cash. That's the reason why people like ShopRite, The Prince, and all these other supermarkets are knocking out all the people on the streets, because they have capital. So sometimes business owners must think and say, look, this is my product. If I don't have a lot of money to put in it, can I target a market class that would help me increase my profit margin? So I'll give you an instance. There's a lady, I was doing a session in one place, young people doing business, right? So this lady makes wedding gowns. And I said, you know what, how much does she charge for a wedding gown? She said, 50,000. And I said, how many wedding gowns do you make? She says, 10. That's the maximum she can make in a month. So I said, if 200 people knock at your door, she can't do 20. She can only do 10 in a month. I said, that means your business is stuck. You're stuck at 500,000 a month. But if you change who you sell your products to, if you change your market segment and you find people, and you can find people who would pay 200,000 naira for a wedding gown, at doing the same 10 wedding gowns, you can move your revenue from 500,000 to 2 million. That extra 1.5 million a month can enable you get more machineries, more capacity, so that you can expand. Because if you're doing 500,000 a month, you might not be able to expand, right? So you need to ask yourself, am I talking to the right set of customers, right? Very, very critical for your business. And also, how satisfied, remember, number 4 is in a way that satisfies the customer's needs and expectations, right? How satisfied do you leave your clients? Is it part of your culture to satisfy your client? I'm not just talking about customer service, I'm talking about customer astonishment. See, if you give a client what they asked for, you haven't done them what they paid for, you haven't done them any favors. So what you need to do is to give a client more than what they paid for. You have to always work to give a client more than what they paid for, more than what they pay for, right? More than what they pay for. So if you want to be successful as a business, guess what you need to do all the time? Give a client more than what they pay for. Give a client more than what they pay for. Right? More than what they pay for. Right? Okay, great. Now, very, 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 very important is also how profitable is your business. And at this junction, we're going to do a small, I hope you have, if you have a notepad and a pen, I want you to say yes. I want to be sure that we all have notepad and pens because this part is very, very, very important. Now, there are different ways to calculate profitability in your business, but I'm going to help you. I want to make sure that you find the profitability in terms of understanding even how much you are costing your business. Right? I'm going to run you through a test now, and that test is going to identify what you spend in a month, and it's going to enable you to be able to see how much you are costing the business, and then we can see how big your business needs to get, right? Okay, so if you're going to complete the test with me, I want you to say yes, yes, because it's a very, 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 it's just 10 minutes, but it's going to be life-changing, trust me. It's going to be significantly life-changing. Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, great. So I want you to take out your notepads and your pen. Take out your notepads and your pen. And I want you to, I'm going to run you through some tests. So why am I doing this test? Because wealth is measured in time, not numbers. Right? It doesn't matter how much you have, it matters how long it takes you. Right? So we're going to take a look at all of your expense, and we're going to try to analyze them and see how you are doing in that axis, right? So just follow me, right? So the first thing I want you to do, most of us here, now don't write down anything that you see on the board, just write down the explanations that I'm giving, right? Most of us here we live maybe in a rented apartment, right? So if you live in a rented apartment, you probably pay rent every single year. So what I want you to do is to look at what you spend in a year. Let's assume your rent in a year is 1 million. Divide it by 12 and write down the number that it costs you in a month. So what that means, for example, is if you spend 10,000 in a year or 1 million in a year, if you divide it by 12, then that's about 83,000. So instead of writing 1 million in rent, I want you to write 83,000. I want to see that. Please turn on your camera. I want to see that you're writing. So the first of them is rent. I want you to write not the annual figure, but the monthly figure, right? So whatever, if you don't pay rent, if you live in your own house, put it blank, right? Just keep living. If I mention anything that you don't spend money on, just leave it blank. Is that fine? Is that okay? Right, that's okay, right? Great. So I want you to, if you've written that, I want you to write I have in the comment section. Let me unmute us so that I can see how we can get responses. If you can talk, if you've written down that first one, I want you to say, yes, I have. Please write, yes, I have, if you've written it down. This is the reason to unmute. Fortunately, there's going to be.
Yes.
So I want you to just write it. Let's write it. We'll still unmute everybody. Okay, great. Thanks, I'll do. Anybody else? Okay, great. Follow on me. Thank you so much. Okay, great. So the next of them is what we call transportation. Transportation is if you have a car, for example. If you have a car, most likely buy fuel for your car, maybe weekly. So let's assume you spend 6,000 naira a week on fuel, multiply that by 4, that would give you 24, right? So that's the amount of, so I want you to write down how much you spend on fueling your car every single month. Write it down. Now, if you don't have a car and you bus around, I mean, just pick a budget, something that you think is reasonable, that you spend. 500 naira a day would be about 15,000 a month. 1,000 a day would be about 30,000 a month. Just write down that figure. Write down that figure. If you've done that, I want you to write transportation. So just write so that I know that it's transportation that you have done. One more minute. If you've done the transportation bid, I want you to write it down just so that I see that you've updated that. None of us have done that, or have we done that and we haven't written out yet? Okay. Okay, some of us said that we have. Great. The next of them is something that I call utilities. Now, utilities have different categories, right? One is most of us here pay light bill. How much do you spend in light bill every single month? Then most of us live in gated estates or we pay some form of security bill in our estates. Most of us have some form of cable TV in our houses. How much do you spend on that every month? Most of us have some form of, maybe you spend fuel in your house, you know, and that kind of stuff. I want you to just put all those figures monthly. Okay, so if you've done that, most people should have done that by now. So you should have all those figures separated: light bill, estate dues, cable TV, for whatever it is that is utility, including the one I didn't mention. Next of them is what I call feeding costs. Now, feeding cost is not food stuff in the house. Feeding cost is your, you know, I mean, again, for most of us, this would have gone down drastically because back in the day, you live somewhere, you work somewhere, so there's somewhere that you buy food every single day from the office. It's usually a small budget, 1,500, whatever that is for you. But these days, most of us are working from home, so that's not going to be a significant budget. So you can merge that with what I call groceries. Groceries is food stuff and stuff that you buy in the house. If you're a man, if you're married, if you hand the money over to your wife, write down how much you give or how much you drop. If you, whatever it is, just put that in. Capture that in a month. Okay. Then next is school fees. If you have children that attend school and they pay school fees, it's usually 3 times a year. So you need to add all 3 terms together and divide it by 12 so that you know how much school fees is due every month. If you don't pay school fees, that's okay. Have you done that? Next is personal expense. How much do you spend on yourself? For ladies, is maybe, I don't know, manicure, pedicure, all those things. Thank God there's not been any events these days, so you're not spending money on Shelby. Next is childcare expense. Childcare expense, how much you spend on your children that is not school fees. Some of us have children that are a lot younger, too young for school. And even those that have children in school, we still spend some money. So we're trying to capture what you spend every month. And then we have communication. Communication is airtime, data. How much do you spend on airtime? How much do you spend on data? And then lastly is other expenses. Have we written everything out? If you've written everything out, I'll give you 2 minutes. I want you to add up every single thing. Oh yeah, once you're done adding it out, I want you to just, in one word, tell me, yeah, medical, well, you can add that. Anything that I didn't add it. I didn't write medical because for some of us, it's not a monthly expense, right? It happens, so you can put that under miscellaneous, something like that. So how many of us have finished adding up every single thing? How many of us have finished adding it up? Let me unmute so that I can get your reaction. Bukola, are you done?
Yes.
So the number you're looking at, is this staggering for you? Because the next question I'm going to ask you is even a more important question.
Why should I? Why should I jump? I want to see our faces. You say you want.
Please, can we limit all the noise in the background? Anything don't worry, anything that I didn't add, you can add yourself. And then I want you to tell me, very, very importantly, does your business pay you that amount as a salary?
Okay.
If business pay you that amount as a salary, you're stealing from your business.
For now, no.
If your business is your only source of income, your business doesn't pay you a salary, taken from your. Now, unfortunately, there's not much you can do about it. Grow your business so that you that in salary. Sharon, I think there's a problem with your. How many of us finished this activity and would want to say something? But the bigger question really is not even about this. It's really the bigger question that we like to answer in the strategy factory is this. How big does your business need to get to be able to pay 20 people in your organization such a monthly salary? That's really the big question. Because this is the reason why small business not retain.
People don't hear, baby.
Let me repeat it.
Baba, quite don't hear.
So that's the thing, right? Because if anybody works with you right now, the person at least wants the kind of lifestyle that you have. If you're building your business only for your own income and not to be able to take care of them, they're going to use you to learn and then walk away and start something and move somewhere else. So you must be willing to build a business that doesn't just accommodate your dream, but accommodate the dreams of people that work with you. Right? Okay, so as we close, we're not sure when life will return to normal, but we know that we'll come out stronger. So I want to be able to work with you. So here's the thing, right? The strategy factory usually holds in Sheraton, but we want to be able to we have a session on the 28th and 29th of August, next week, Friday and Saturday, that I'm inviting you guys to. And this is what we'll cover. You can take a snapshot of it. These are all the topics. We'll cover everything that you need to know in business, right? Strategy, story state, value proposition, USP, market segmentation, profitability, strategy, reducing sales and confidence dependency, identifying ways to achieve your strategic objective, how to spend less, how to make more, people, processes, and controls, how to choose the right people for your business, market analysis, industry analysis. And then we're also going to talk about how to deal with high net worth individuals, because I believe that every business owner should find a way to get better paying clients, not just more clients, right? We're going to talk about the KLT principle, business networking, and we're going to talk about selling. But we also have a special guest facilitator session. And in all our guest facilitator session, we don't bring speakers, I'm a business person, so we bring people that their business have done at least $1 billion a year. So last month we had somebody who bought over an insurance firm for $80 million, come speak with us. He's a friend of mine. In fact, incidentally, I got him started in his first business, and now he's doing pretty well. He's just 31, and he's built a significantly huge business. So this month, we're having a friend of mine also who owns a refinery. He owns a refinery, a modular refinery in Port Harcourt, built it with $5 billion and was able to raise that kind of money. So how did it start from? Okay, so you want to say model 4, you can just take a snapshot of it. And so the class is usually 70, but we want to get people in for just 35. It's a 2-day class, 2-day session. And it's going to be 9 a.m. to 12 noon in the morning, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. in the evening. And then the same thing happened on the second day. But the second day, we're going to have 9 a.m. to 2, because between 2 and 12, we have a guest participation session, and then 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. It's about 12 hours of class, but it's going to be 12 hours of the best class that you've ever attended, right? So what I just shared with you is essentially just module 1. What I shared with you is just module 1, but added to the class, you get access to the online class. So if you attend, if you miss any class, that class will be available for you. You're also going to get access to our Strategy Factory. Our Strategy Factory community is a community of business people. Business transacted within that community is over 100 million now, that has been transacted within that community. And you're also going to get access to the email. You're going to get access to some books to help you grow your knowledge, right? So those of us that are interested, you could comment in the group, or send a message to that number and let us know that you're interested. We're trying to close registration by Tuesday or Wednesday or so, because the class starts on Friday. So for those of us that are interested, please, you need to get into the class very, very, very quickly. So here's what I'm going to do. For those of us that would commit to the class, now the class is supposed to be 35,000. For those of us that would commit to the class before Sunday, what we'll do is that I don't know who's here from my staff. Mike, okay, Michael is here, Sola is here. So please let me know that I have given this out. We'll knock off 5,000 naira for them, and then they can pay 30,000 naira if they can commit to the class before Sunday. And also added to the class is, when you're done with the class, I also do a one-on-one strategy session with you. One-on-one, a one strategy session with you. It can happen face-to-face if you're good for it, or if you stay in Lagos, by the way. And it can also happen virtually via Zoom or WhatsApp video if we can't meet in person. But you have one meeting where we can drill down the strategies, and we're able to help you really look into your business and come up with practical solutions, right? Okay, so having said all of that, thank you so much. I would then stop recording now so that I can take questions.